I'm Edie Magnus. Tonight, the USA section explores the question, should boxing be banned?
I'm Kenneth Walker, and tonight's Money section takes a look at billboards of the future.
I'm Bill McAtee in Atlantic City. In sports tonight, Michael Spinks before and after the fight.
I can't turn back now.
Hello, I'm Robin Young. Tonight in the Life section, we'll find out who this guy really is and meet the man who made him age 30 years and 30 minutes.
Damn it, this is a free country. You should respect his wishes and call the man Muhammad Ali.
All of that and more tonight on USA Today.
And now, from the USA Today Communications Center in Arlington, Virginia, here is Robin Young.
The results of the USA Today High School Leader Survey are in, and Alex Keaton, you are in for a surprise. Teenagers are getting more liberal. Our survey shows that generally teens are pro-choice on abortion, for gun control and better social health care, and against the arms race. They give their teachers high grades, they're getting higher grades themselves, and they're surprisingly well-informed and compassionate about AIDS. Well, it's one thing to know what teens think. It's another to understand what they're saying, which is one of the reasons we decided to create our own video dictionary. We call it Kid Speak. Here's the first edition.
He's fully perpendicular, you know what I mean? I mean, perpendicular would be the major, fully cool and all.
Hey, money. If someone says that to you, that means like, what's up? And what's up usually means like, how are you doing or something like that. And that's hey, money.
Well, my word is wetback. You know, it's a person who can't play basketball real good, you know, always messing up all the time, even missing crips. Now, that's a serious wetback right there.
Storks are cigarettes, and you'll have a bunch of people use them, especially the ones that want to go out to smoking court and waste their lungs.
If I say your gear's dope, that means your clothing looks nice. My word is what's up on that tip. And the definition is what you want to do, when, later, or now.
See these guys? They're both Eddie Murphy. They're coming to America, and coming to America finally is. And since Eddie Murphy's much-anticipated movie opens this Friday, we thought it would be fun tonight to take a look at the man who made America's hottest young black actor white, among other things. Eddie Murphy, African Prince. Eddie Murphy, old Jewish man. Makeup artist Rick Baker did the look. Eddie did the kvetching.
And if a man wants to be called Muhammad Ali...
When I completed this makeup for the first day of shooting of this character, they weren't quite ready to use him on the set. So Eddie said, well, I'll be right back. So he hopped in a golf cart and terrorized Paramount Studios. He went all around Paramount and he went into the different executives' offices as this character and tried to sell him a script, this great script that he had just written. And he went out trying to pick up old women, and he just had a blast with the makeup. He just went everywhere he could as this new person and was being as obnoxious as he wanted to be, and then nobody knew it was Eddie. It was a lot of fun.
As Eddie Murphy gets ready to enter the weekly battle for box office sales, the big news in the movie industry is that a rabbit has knocked everyone, including Rambo, right out of the ring. Here's the results. Two major cities have made announcements about what's in their plumbing. or rather what isn't. In Los Angeles, what's missing is the water. Because of the recent drought, diners are served cardboard mirages with a reminder that any glass of real water served takes 3 to wash. In New York, what's missing has never been there, or so says the Department of Environmental Protection, which has just issued this T-shirt. It reminds people that there are no alligators in the 6,000 miles of sewers there. But anyone who ever knew anyone who heard that there were is hardly going to believe it. Well, finally tonight in the Life section, we'd like to occasionally take a couple of minutes and eavesdrop on some corner of the country. Tonight, Revere Beach. It's a boardwalk town, and like most, it's seen better days. Bostonians drive past it on their way to more exclusive spots. But that's just fine with the townies who have lived there for generations and who would never think of leaving.
Where else can you come down, look at the ocean, smooth, weather is fine, sun is shining. When we come down here, we just kibitz around, you know, just kibitz around, discuss the affairs of the world.
Rabbi said to me, I'm here every morning, 7:30 every morning. Stay at 12, 1 o'clock, then I can spot my wife walking up the road. Say, oh, here come the boss.
We were born and brought up in this area. Our parents took us down here when we were small. We took our children down here when we were small, and we still love it here. It's a beautiful, beautiful beach.
Hey, how you doing?
He was cute.
Jerry.
He was cute.
I come to Revere Beach with the boys because they're gorgeous. They got big bodies.
I like the sun. I like the girls. I like the partying.
Here's a carload.
Hey, come on over.
Denise!
Park, you want to park?
The beach is it, you know?
The beach. Revere Beach. Nice to be. The place to be. It's always jammed.
Everything looks different in winter.
You don't.
Seagram's golden wine cooler.
It's wet, and it's dry, and it's Seagram's. Remember?
I thought it was just a line you use in summer.
Some things outlast the summer.
Like?
The Seagram's golden wine cooler.
Anything else?
Be patient.
I was.
New Seagram's golden wine cooler. It's wet and it's dry.
Looking at the convention center in Atlantic City, and as you can see, the ring is still there, but the party is definitely over. Many of you probably had debates at the office today about who now is the greatest heavyweight champion of all time: Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano, or Mike Tyson. We are standing in the ring where Michael Spinks prepared for that devastating 91 seconds last night against Tyson. The stories you're reading today, they're all about Mike Tyson. But there is another story, the story of the challenger. And our USA Today cameras were with Michael Spinks right before the fight and right after.
It does wonder to see sometimes. You know, but I'm getting real wound up. Right. And I just turn my, if I can turn my head off.
Yeah, that's what I'll be doing all night long.
Trying to turn it off.
Yeah.
Michael Spinks, 212 pounds and 1 quarter.
Find out who they want up there and make sure, right?
Didn't he say you?
Me, Eddie, wasn't sure.
I can't turn back now.
That was beautiful. So now is the time when he's sitting there thinking about family, friends, not to let them down, not to let himself down. The anticipation is finally here, and he's got to live up to it.
And as a note, that moment you just saw was the last anyone around here has seen of the champion, Michael Tyson. But we are joined now by Jose Torres, who's a member of the Tyson Inner Circle. You're writing a biography on Mike Tyson. Let's look ahead to the future real quick. What kind of fighter will it take to match up with a guy like Tyson?
You need a man, a young guy like Tyson himself, with a lot of will and determination. And he salivates when he talks about fighting, especially on the day of the fight, just before the fight. He is amazing how much he loves to fight.
Does the marriage have a chance?
I think it does, but they have very strong characters, both of them. They're very independent and very aggressive. You know Mike's background, so who knows?
You're there. What about the rumors of physical abuse?
I don't think that he's that tough with her. And if he touches her, everyone would know.
And if you go to your newsstand expecting the new issue of Sports Illustrated tomorrow, it won't be there. SI has held up the issue a day to get a photo of the fight on the cover. From Atlantic City to New York to your newsstand. Here's how it was done.
Well, the minute the fight was over, the second of our 3 helicopters left from Atlantic City and flew to the heliport on the west side here in New York. The meter is clicking because the magazine, you know, by 12 o'clock the magazine is well on its way to press. We're late, but we expected to be late.
You got both rolls?
Yeah, I got all 3 rolls.
Yeah, okay.
So in 2 hours they had that film all processed and ready for me to look at.
That's good.
There's no reason to panic. I mean, we're going to get the magazine out.
SI brings you there, pure and simple. Mission accomplished.
On our cover story tonight, Mike Tyson wasn't the only winner last night. The other guy might well be the man behind the muscle, Donald Trump. Once again, Donald Trump has entered a ring and seemingly taken over the whole arena.
Fighting out of this corner from New York, the heavyweight champion of bricks and bucks, Donald Trump. And his opponent, the boxing establishment, or anyone who gets in his way.
Life is a big, fat war. It's a big, fat battle.
If you're going to get into the ring with Donald Trump, you better be ready to fight. Trump's fancy footwork has helped him win big battles in some of New York's toughest wars. He earned the title champ when he became the city's biggest name in buying buildings. But even Manhattan wasn't a big enough ring for Trump. So he decided to challenge the gambling world and took on Atlantic City. Here, his casino hotel holdings bring in an estimated $15 million a day. Provide the perfect stage for his latest extravaganza, big-name boxing.
Have you found boxing to have an odd assortment of characters?
Totally, totally. And you have a real serious assortment. You know, you have a lot of real street people, smart people. In some cases not educated, but they're smarter than anybody that went to the Wharton School of Finance, okay?
I can't help but think of you and Don King as an odd couple. Is that totally unrealistic?
Well, he's a character. Don King is a character, but he's a good guy. He's a smart cookie. I'll tell you, this man is a smart, shrewd businessman.
Don King isn't the only shrewd businessman here or the only promoter. Many of Donald Trump's critics say that what he does best is promote himself by holding the fight at his own Trump Plaza casino. Ego aside, though, he made boxing history by outbidding the Las Vegas boys and spending $11 million making this the most expensive 12 rounds ever. Profits. Expenses. The bottom line aside, Trump is having a good time. He promotes the fight. The fighters promote him.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Trump.
If you were a fighter, your style, who do you think you'd be?
Well, maybe a little bit like Muhammad Ali. Why not, right? I mean, if only I had that ability, which I certainly don't. But that would be the style, I suspect. I like watching this event. I enjoy seeing the big event. By the way, whether it's boxing or anything else, I love putting on the big event.
But if you were to take your decision to go into boxing as a fight, How will you know if you've won?
Well, I think I win if I make money. I'm not doing this to lose money. I don't think you should be a good loser, because I've never seen a good loser that knows how to win. Never. It doesn't happen. The person doesn't exist. If you're a winner, you're a winner. And if you're a loser, you're a loser. But there's no such thing, in my opinion, as a good loser.
And you like to win?
I like winning, yeah. I like winning.
Well, Donald Trump certainly is a winner. We just got the judges' scorecard. He made, over the weekend, $25 million in his casinos, $5 million from the fight itself, and you'll like this, $2 million in incidentals.
So say, hey, Willie, tell the cow, Joe DiMaggio, don't say it ain't so, you know the time is now.
A Polaroid camera can do something important for you virtually every day.
Why can't I see my baby sister?
There's a rule little children can't go up.
But I was born here. Why can't I go back?
I'll tell you what. You wait with Grandma, and I'll bring your sister to you.
Sure.
For those times when someone can't be there to share an important occasion.
Brian Matthew, meet Corey Lynn.
Polaroid instant cameras do what no other kind of camera can do.
The big question about the drought for most of us is not when it'll rain, but will food prices go up? At the check stand, prices continue to feel the heat. What's going up now? Margarine, pasta, and cereals being burned by drought-stricken soybean and grain crops. The good buys, meat, fresh fruits and vegetables, where prices are cool because of large stocks on those items. Of all the ads you've seen in the last month, which ones do you remember? Well, according to Advertising Age magazine, the winner is Pepsi, followed by Coke and Budweiser. But what if you had to answer that question about billboards? Most of us would probably say we don't remember much. But the billboard industry is a survivor. Environmentalists thought they'd killed it off 23 years ago. Today, billboards are a billion-dollar-plus industry and are ready to take us to the next generation. What had been billboard creep in the 60s has become more of an explosion today. And that proliferation could be complicated by startling technological breakthroughs. Imagine what a family drive might look like a few years down the road. Giant animated billboards might replace static ones that are now easier to ignore. Some might prove even more compelling. Actually, the future's already here in some places where computerized billboards have been up for several years. But improvements in the technology could take the long-standing USA debate over billboards to a completely different level. Los Angeles. Today, it's the billboard capital of the USA with almost 10,000 boards in the city. An anti-billboard coalition is trying to change that. The group recently proposed a ban on new billboards before the city council.
What we're saying is enough is enough.
If I had my way, we would eliminate all billboards.
And I really don't want to go to my grave with all the billboards.
But the industry showed up in force to oppose the measure.
I'm going to tell you, there's a whole lot of people sitting behind me today that make their living out of this industry.
The final vote was close.
Tabulate the vote.
7 ayes, 8 noes.
That has failed.
While reform may have stalled in Los Angeles, 4 states, including Vermont, have banned billboards.
I think it's enhanced the desire of people to come to Vermont because they come there to see the mountains and the trees and the lakes and the streams and not to look at billboards.
The outdoor advertisers, however, say billboards still have a place in the USA landscape.
I think great outdoor advertising is a part of keeping America beautiful.
And now the industry is excited by the next generation of billboard technology.
A very revolutionary new technology, which in essence will replicate what you see in television.
But opponents vow to keep that day from coming.
All I can think of is something like that one over my shoulder there, perhaps with the gin pouring out of the bottle and somebody picking up the glass and drinking it. And I don't think I'd want anybody to see that.
So future battle lines seem set. Will advertisers be able to bring giant TV screens to the USA highways, or will a small but apparently growing number of billboard rebels be able to pull the plug? Stay tuned. In this week's In Your Interest report, the highest yielding one-year CD is at Dominion Savings and Loan in McLean, Virginia, where you get the best rate with a minimum deposit of $250. That's the interest you get. The interest that gets you what you pay for credit is about to go up. The Federal Reserve, which decides such things, voted to push rates up, according to the experts, to keep inflation from getting out of hand.
Arrogance and complacency have taken its toll in our country. It's time for us to sharpen our brains, sharpen our wits, sharpen our creative abilities, tap the full potential of our people, and compete head-on and build better products. Just go
H. Ross Perot is on the front line. His old computer company, Electronic Data Systems, made him one of the USA's richest men. Now he's taking on the Postal Service with his new company, Perot Systems. He plans to streamline operations and hopefully spare the rest of us some rate increases in the process. But will Perot's new company be spoiled by his past success?
In a new company, it won't be a problem for a while. Once it succeeds, then it's a problem every day. And you just have to keep things stirred up, keep people on their toes. It's always good to be in a very competitive market. That forces you to be on your toes. If you ever start to dominate that market, you become vulnerable. It'll be a long time before we get in that position.
Stress, burnout. Are there any jobs left that pay big and don't put you in the pressure cooker? A new book, Jobs Rated Almanac, says yes. This week we'll show you the top 3. We start with someone who works with insurance stats. He doesn't dispute the pay, but he takes exception to the low stress.
I'm excited about being an actuary, and I like it very much. I think it's a great career. For most actuaries, the stress factor is about the same as it would be for anyone working in the financial services industry, an accountant, a banker, a stockbroker. A typical day in my life would be filled with phone calls and meetings, conferences, and preparations for presentations. My desk is usually littered with memos, with lots of little phone call messages, and sometimes I get a little harried.
There are times when he does have stressful moments, but I think he handles it very well.
I like that kind of stress very much. I like to get right up in the front lines and get my hands dirty. I like the action.
When it comes to the electronics business, you've got to be wired. You gotta be plugged in. You gotta be switched on. You gotta keep your circuits open. You can't afford to blow a fuse. It takes a lot of energy to get your product out the door. And your customers won't stand for loose connections. This reminder from Federal Express that it's not just a package, it's your business.
Gunmen and a plane full of U.S. ambassadors. Our cameras were on board for this confrontation as the diplomats got some up-close training from the State Department on terrorism and how to cope with it. The importance of what they learned is underscored by today's murder of a U.S. military attaché in Greece.
You will do what we say. We now control this plane.
Training started the moment they were airborne. The mock hijacking was designed to emphasize the dangers ambassadors face when they go overseas. The terrorist planted on board gave these 7 diplomats advice on how to survive if their plane was ever hijacked.
And if you give them any kind of problems at all, that's the last thing in the world they want. And it's a lot easier for them to whack you.
For 2 days, instructors at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Brunswick, Georgia, demonstrated techniques designed to thwart terrorists, such as evasive driving, which could prevent a kidnapping or an assassination. And with the ambassadors seated in the car, instructors showed that a roadblock is not always a dead end.
In the 31 months before we started this big security program, we had 109 people killed in our embassies.
It is unlikely an ambassador will ever have to use a gun, but they were given a quick marksmanship course. Paul Taylor will be the next U.S. ambassador to the Dominican Republic. He and his family have faced the threat of terrorism before in Guatemala.
There was a great deal of violence, and so it was pretty easy to have a security consciousness there. The children didn't go out at night unless they were accompanied by a parent and taken in an armored car.
Ted McNamara is the new ambassador to Colombia, a country where U.S. diplomats are routinely threatened by drug lords.
You have in the back of your mind at all times that you have to be aware of certain circumstances, but after a while you get to live with it just like you get to live with anything.
And what did they learn? Several diplomats said they are particularly vulnerable because they and their families have regular routines living overseas, which could make it easier for a terrorist to strike. Mike Tyson's blowout bout with Michael Spinks has rekindled the debate about whether we as a nation should allow boxing. The 12 editorial writers of USA Today, the newspaper, debated that question. Join us now as we go behind the scenes and watch them thrash out the subject of boxing and whether it should be banned.
Yeah, the AMA said we want to ban it because it seems to us an extraordinarily incongruous thing that we have a sport in which two people are literally paid to get into the ring and try to beat each other to death, or at least beat them into a state of senselessness which can leave them permanently brain damaged.
Every time poor folks find a way to move up and get some money and be heroes and become millionaires, people decide to close. It's just like the lottery. You know, I mean, here's a thing that you know, you wanted to close off. Every time poor people get a toehold on anything, you want to slam the door. Can't you put off limits the part of the body that you can hit to get somebody punched drunk? You can have things off limits. You don't hit below the belt, do you?
What?
You don't hit below the belt.
I know, but you do in here
so
all
you
the
don't.
time.
You could just take parts of the body off limit and have people hit a place where it wouldn't cause a concussion.
Really, when you think about it, in a civilized society, should we be applauding this sort of thing, glorifying it?
Sharon, what do you think? Because you like sports.
Yeah, but I don't like boxing.
You don't like?
Why not?
I just think, well, when I was little, a little girl, I used to bet with my father on the Friday night fights, and I always vote on the guy in the white trunks, and I always win pennies. And I thought it was fun, but then as I grew older, I just saw it being violent, and I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. I think it's a violent sport, but I wouldn't want to have it banned. I think it should be regulated.
Well, Tyson doesn't call it a sport. He says...
I agree with Tyson.
He says, I don't like sports. They're social events. This is war.
And what did they finally decide to write? Boxing in the USA can't be banned, but it can be regulated and should be regulated. Congress should pass laws to clean up boxing. That is an extreme remedy, but fighters and fight fans deserve it. Carolyn Kennedy Schlossberg, the daughter of the late president, is a new mother. She gave birth Saturday to 7-pound, 12-ounce Rose Kennedy Schlossberg, named after the matriarch of the Kennedy clan. Caroline's mother, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, is now a grandmother. And that's it for tonight. Join Robin, Bill, Kenneth, and me tomorrow night on USA Today, the television show. Good night. I'm Edie Magnus. On the front page tonight, first it was RoboCop, now it's PhotoCop, and this is no movie.
I'm Kenneth Walker. In Money tonight, we'll ride the rails to discover that train travel is back on track.
I'm Bill McAtee. In sports tonight, the real Nuke LaLoosh from the movie Bull Durham.
If you touch my hand, I be king.
I'm Robin Young. In Life Tonight, Cybill Shepherd, the new mom's making a new movie, and we'll talk to her.
Cut.
Get it.
All that and more tonight on USA Today.
From the USA Today Communication Center in Arlington, Virginia, here is Edie Magnus.
A new poll finds across the USA children believe seat belts save lives, but most do not always wear them. Only 30% say they wear them all the time. And mom and dad are not setting very good examples either. Nearly half the children wish their parents would wear seat belts more often. Tomorrow in USA Today, the newspaper, a full-page report on the hundreds of new state laws that take effect July 1st. Among them, Wyoming becomes the last state to raise its drinking age to 21. For all who've gleefully escaped a police speed trap, beware. The police are getting smarter. Just ask the folks in Pasadena, California, the first big city in the country where a new high-tech trap could be just around the corner. The photographers are police officers capturing speeders with their latest weapon, photo radar.
Any vehicle that comes down this street and goes through the cone of the radar exceeding 44 miles an hour, it will activate the camera and the flash.
The black and white snapshots show the car, license plate, and driver. No one sure of being shot until the mailman delivers the ticket.
You may not have any idea that you're even particularly going over the speed limit. Several weeks or a month later, you find out, well, actually you were going over the speed limit. You say, what? When? It's upsetting.
It seems no one can escape, not even Willie Mays. The baseball legend was caught speeding in Paradise Valley, Arizona, where police have been using photo radar since last fall. It's said to have reduced accidents there 43%, but will it work in Pasadena?
I hope it works because it's been so many accidents on the freeway.
I think it's a good idea. I don't know, I'm kind of ho-hum, you know? I don't like Big Brother watching on my shoulder, you know?
And being Big Brother can bring big business. The radar company rakes in $20 for every speeding ticket, and there are plans to hook up photo radars to red lights. And just so you'll know, they'll post this sign when photo radar comes to town. You remember the lyric, love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage? We asked people across the USA whether that's still true. A surprising number told us they have a secret that would destroy their marriage.
And you're here with a strange girl being a naughty boy?
I don't think having dinner with anybody is a crime.
What if they found out their spouse was having an affair?
I'll buy you a drink.
I told you, I've got a husband.
I'll buy him one, too.
How many fantasize about other people?
God, she's beautiful. She's got the prettiest eyes. And she looks so sexy in that sweater. I just want to be alone with her and hold her and kiss her and tell her how much I love her and take care of her.
And what about passion? Does it fade with time?
You tired?
Aren't you?
I'm wide awake.
What's wrong?
Not a thing.
Oh?
It's raining again tonight across the Farm Belt. It isn't enough to end the drought, but in Kansas City last night, baseball fans at the Royals game gave the rain a standing ovation. For one state, water has not been a problem. Our correspondent in Chicago, Beth Ruyak, explains.
Edie, there's a saying, one person's misfortune is another person's fortune.
Now we'll meet some farmers who are thriving.
Well, if corn keeps going like it is, we might have to take it to town in an armored car.
That may be hard to believe, but in fact, most of Nebraska is a veritable sea of green, an oasis amid the desert-like conditions consuming much of rural America. What's the secret?
Water. We have the largest supply of underground water.
This underground water supply is called an aquifer, a gift of nature to a state that would otherwise be a parched wasteland. An aquifer is a saturated layer of sand and gravel deep below the land's surface. The deepest portions of this underground lake cover most of Nebraska. The only trick was to get it out of the ground. Roger Wiebe now farms the land once owned by the family credited with digging the first Nebraska irrigation wells back in the early 40s. Now, Nebraska boasts 7 million irrigated acres, more than any state but California.
Irrigating is a lot of work. And I always say the only thing worse than irrigating is not irrigating.
Less than 1% of the nation's farms are irrigated, which is one reason the drought has taken such a toll. In contrast, an estimated 70% of the farms in Nebraska are irrigated. Grain prices are indeed approaching record highs, with the futures market in a frenzy with each new weather forecast. And that puts farmers who have healthy crops in a position to profit.
I have to give God credit for all of this, you know. You're being able to irrigate versus somebody else that's works every bit as hard. His crops are burning up.
At Club Med, you can water ski, play tennis, snorkel, or sail, windsurf, or play volleyball. At Club Med, you can exercise everything, including your right not to exercise anything.
Club Med vacation, the antidote for civilization.
Higher interest rates last month hurt new home sales in the South and Northeast. But June brings welcome news for home buyers. Mortgage rates are down more than 0.5%, so if you're in the market, buy now. Because what's come down will soon go up. Buying a house today is a lot more complex.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house.
Owning a home, the American dream, is becoming harder and harder. Rising costs, new confusing options mean fewer and fewer of us now own the places we live in. So if you've got the money and the patience for a bewildering number of options, you're ready for the home buying game. Here's what $150,000 will buy. If you live in Oklahoma City with its weak oil-based economy, $150,000 will get you a near mansion with 2-car garage, 3 bedrooms, 3 living rooms, 2 fireplaces, and a game room. In the Sun Belt in Phoenix, where the economy is better, you get 4 bedrooms, a fireplace, and a pool, but still clearly less than you can pick up in Oklahoma. But in Boston, with its booming high-tech economy, $150,000 doesn't go nearly as far. And guess what this parking space in this fashionable Beacon Hill garage costs? $150,000. Most experts say the first move in this game, you guessed it, is to find an expert. In this case, a real estate agent who, among other things, helps you figure out whether you can afford a $150,000 house.
Given current market conditions and given the standardized loan, one would need an income of $40,000 in order to be able to qualify for a loan on that house.
Once the house is picked out, it's time to roll the dice on Mortgage Row. There's the traditional 30-year note with a fixed interest rate. There's the newer fixed-rate 15-year mortgage with higher monthly payments, but with a buildup of home equity sooner. And joining the mortgage maze in the 80s, the balloon mortgage. And then there are adjustable rate mortgages whose initial payments generally are lower, but if inflation goes up, so do your payments.
I think a first-time home buyer may want to look at an adjustable rate mortgage, particularly because they're going to buy a condominium unit or a small single-family house and find within a few years that they're outgrowing it.
If you're still in the mood to buy and can't move to Oklahoma, remember, there's always the pool in Phoenix and the parking space in Boston. Well, that parking space in Boston cost more than your average USA home. According to new figures out today, the average house goes for $136,000. In California, rubber is making a major fashion statement. It's probably not what you think. Here to show us is USA Today correspondent Bill Sternoff in Culver City.
Kenneth, there's a family business in a surfing town just south of Los Angeles where they've taken plain sheets of rubber and turned them into a $50 million a year company. Their logo is everywhere, from bodies and faces to bags and bottles, even in music videos. Body Glove, a 35-year-old wetsuit company of Hermosa Beach, has made synthetic rubber called neoprene into a fashion happening.
Well, Body Glove right now is doing great. It's one of the hottest selling items in the store.
It's the new thing. Everybody's wearing them.
That's just what the Maestro family wants to hear.
We never thought that it would go this far. It's real exciting. I think it's exciting for my whole family.
Body Glove's partners don't just make swimsuits. They make evening wear, purses, sunglasses, even earrings.
It's exciting being able to take a new fabric, a fabric that's been unused for the most part in the fashion industry, and experiment with it in different ways.
While Body Glove's future may be the color of money, its true loyalty belongs to the surfing community.
That's where our emphasis is always going to be, is surfing. That's definitely the heart of it.
Our cover story tonight, train travel. The old romance and new allure of trains. More and more of us are riding them these days, and maybe it's just the call of our past.
Have you any private cars on this train? Room and bath with exclusive bar?
Train travel. The clatter of the rails seems to conjure up images of adventure, the unexpected. USA travel is up in general this summer, and train travel in particular has reached a record high. More and more Americans are pulling off congested highways and out of crowded airports in favor of a more nostalgic means of travel. Coping with all that business has become a problem. 6 major cross-country runs are virtually sold out for the summer, and at peak times, the busy East Coast routes are standing room only. Despite the hassles, travelers we talked to didn't seem to mind. There seems to be a place in everyone's heart and memory for the trains.
This is a joy. You can, schmooze and be cheerful and pleasant and charming. It's very restful.
It's a lot of fun, and there is the romance.
If you can't get Meryl Streep to take a train ride with you, a little extra money can buy your own private railroad car. J. Pierpont Morgan's famous custom-designed Pullman is up for sale, and USA Today reporter Craig Wilson just got off from a preview ride. He joins us from Chicago. Craig, tell us, what on earth does the personal car of J.P. Morgan look like?
Well, there's a private observation deck in the back where if you were running for office, you can wave to your supporters. There is a living room that seats about 8 with leather tufted chairs. There's enough bedrooms to sleep 8 people. You can have 8 people in for dinner, and there are 2 people on board who will cook that dinner for you. People who have expressed an interest so far are the Japanese, a number of Japanese buyers. Aaron Spelling, who is the TV producer of Dynasty and other hits, is very interested because he doesn't like to fly.
It'll cost you $250 just to get into that auction. It's next month in L.A. They expect the train to go for about $1 million.
I couldn't sleep at all last night. Just thinking of you.
Imagine you were a car. What would you be? You'd be a sports car. You'd be quick, agile,
turbocharged. And of course, you'd be a Porsche.
When I say summer school, what do you think of? Sitting in a hot classroom, plotting against those who would give out such unfair punishment? Sticking to your seat? Watching a clock that you swore was not moving? Well, times have changed. Attendance is up in summer school, and so is enthusiasm. More kids are choosing to go. In Philadelphia, 7,000 more than last year, and they're going to get ahead. Well, it's amazing what you miss if you don't look up. Unless, of course, you live in a city like New York, where you have to keep your eye on the ground so you don't step on a bird. Many New Yorkers probably think that birds naturally live at ground level. The most exotic they've seen, the pigeon. After all, we've built concrete jungles where birds once soared, driving many near extinction. But wait, look close. Isn't that a falcon?
Buildings are essentially cliffs. They can perch high upon them, look for food, and isolate their prey, particularly over water.
Dr. John Aronian is a surgeon, and he found these peregrine falcons, a rare endangered species, on the 27th floor sill of New York Hospital. He soon became a foster parent.
The birds are unique in that they're the fastest creatures on Earth. In a dive, they can go between 200 and 300 miles an hour.
On May 12th, 2 chicks were born, and Dr. Aronian shot these home movies of their banding by Cornell University researchers. 1 month later, they were covered with down. A week after that, they lost their baby feathers and regained their dignity.
If the last 10 years is any example of what will happen to them, I think that they will achieve at least the same numbers that they had 50, 100 years ago.
You can be the first one on your block to own a Sony video phone. Now that transmits a black and white still photo for about $500. The problem is that if you're the only one on your block to own one, you essentially have an overpriced Polaroid. Cybill Shepherd is back again, back making another film, back from having twins, and back on the cover of every magazine, it seems, but Popular Mechanics. She's also here to talk to us right now, and we're so glad that you are, Cybill Shepherd. Is the Cybill that we're seeing now, who's in front of the cameras, not the kind of Cybill we'd see around the house?
Yes, I'm dressed as my character, Corinne Jeffries. And though I like this outfit, but I probably, around the house, no, I'm pretty relaxed.
I just overheard.
I like to go bare feet a lot, go with bare feet.
Yeah. But is that a part of it that people speculate about your hair and what you're wearing and how much makeup you have on, and that just seems to be a part of being Cybill Shepherd?
Well, my daughter has sort of fluctuated. For a while there, she thought I looked so much better with makeup on. Then when she saw me without it, she said, "Oh, you look so much better with makeup on, Mother." And so the latest, though, she started liking me again without makeup. She's standing right over there, very embarrassed.
Kids are always the first to let you know, aren't they? In the movie, you get to play yourself 20 years ago and yourself 2 years from now. You're 38 now, so you're yourself when you were 18, and you get to also play a 40-year-old. In creating that role, have you been thinking back to who were you?
I wouldn't want to go back for a second. I don't know, life was too hard up until I got about to 28 years old, and then at 28, I started to enjoy life, and around into my 30s is when I really started to enjoy life. I wouldn't want to go back at all. You
announced something a couple of weeks ago. In our industry, we call it burying the headline. You said that you'd actually dated Elvis Presley. That doesn't strike me as something that somebody would, not mention until so many years later. Why? Had you never mentioned that before?
I've been asked often, having known Elvis, asked about him, and I just didn't feel that I really could come up with any words that described, he was really an amazing, wonderful man, and I just felt really bad for him. And I didn't like talking about him because of that. So now I finally did. I'm not quite sure why. I guess I found some words that said something.
What do you see for your future with moonlighting? How much longer?
Well, as long as moonlighting's around, I'll be around. I mean, I hope it goes for another 5 years.
Really?
Sure.
If this film that you're working on now became a huge success, you wouldn't leave moonlighting to do films full-time?
I would never leave moonlighting. Moonlighting's going to leave me before I would leave moonlighting. I know I would never leave. I think that'd be very foolish to leave a series a successful series.
Well, good luck with you, to you with the movie you are working on right now. And thanks for giving us some time.
Thank you, Robin.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, we started this evening by asking you to look up in the sky, and now we're going to put you there with the help of 80-year-old General Robert Lee Scott. Now, 4 years ago, he flew an F-16. He also wrote the book, God is My Co-Pilot. Well, we thought he was the perfect candidate to take on another airborne assignment.
The Shockwave. The world's tallest, fastest steel roller coaster.
Very slow going up here now. But wait a minute, I can see the top. It must have hit 2 G's right there and go straight to the top. They have 2 loops right together. I see them ahead of me. Well, I can tell this. That's just about 2 G's also. Now it's slowing down, slowing down. Well, I feel my heart getting back in the right place now. Exhilaration. When I came to that first loop, I owned the sky again. That's all I can say.
My desk.
Making room for the new computer.
We just got new computers.
I'm talking about a really big computer.
Is this big enough to run mainframe programs?
Piece of cake.
Is it big enough for hundreds of workstations?
Of course.
Wow, for thousands of customer accounts?
No sweat, kid.
Wow, that does sound big. You better not spill your coffee on it.
This is it? Where's the rest of it?
The IBM mid-range. Big computers in small packages.
Come in.
When you go to the hit movie Bull Durham, if you haven't already, in watching Kevin Costner babysit the talented but unsettled young pitcher Nuke LaLoosh, you ought to know that Nuke's character is based loosely on a real player. Like Nuke, Greg Arnold seemed to be a surefire pitching prospect, but he was out of control, both on the field and off. They say in the movie he had a $1 million arm but a 5-cent brain. Well, Greg Arnold never made it with baseball, but here's Greg Arnold now.
The world is brighter if you touch my hand. I be king.
I liked Elvis since I was 9 years old. Somehow I could sing like him. Looking back, I'd have done the same thing. I had so much fun you couldn't believe it.
And in it, my
Yo, for a brief moment, I thought the king was still alive. As for real players, here's a list of potential Hall of Famers in baseball. The most productive hitters in the last 10 years. Certainly an impressive group, but look at the drop-off for 3 of the top 4. Only Dave Winfield continues to play at that level. Not age nor turmoil has slowed him down. At the age of 37, Dave Winfield is having his best season, and the fans in picking the All-Star team have made him #1 among the vote-getters. Dave is with us now from Yankee Stadium. How you doing this afternoon?
Glad to be here. Fine.
How come you keep getting better as you get older?
Physically, I'm probably in better shape, and I've been given a lot of God-given tools, but I take nothing for granted out here. There's always some little young buff, young punk trying to take your job, and I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving it up till I retire, or I want to. Fortunately, I'm still at the top of my game. I feel if I've lost anything and I don't really feel it or perceive it, you gain it in smarts and experience.
How do you manage to concentrate with all of the turmoil that seems to surround the Yankees?
Everyone has to have their own anchor in life, whether it's a religion or belief. Then you also have to set your goals, and you have to really, let's say, phase out all of the distractions that are always there. You just have to have a tight rein on on who you are, what you're all about, what you can accomplish. Don't let anyone else make any definitions for you, because I've heard it all too often. Dave Winfield can't play. He can only play at a certain time of the year. He's not important. I've put all that aside, and I believe in myself, and I just keep good people around me, not people who fawn over me or pat me on the back and say you're great, but people who will push me and support me and all those kinds of things.
If you had to do it all over again, would you have written the book, and would you have changed anything?
First of all, no, I'm glad I wrote the book. I was working on it for 2 years, and not just because it sold so well, but because it's honest and it's the truth, and I wanted to tell it like it is.
You think George helped you sell a few of those books?
Yeah, well, there was a great comic that came out this year. I think it was in Publishers Weekly, that said there was 2 long lines at the counter all through the store with a thing that said express line to Winfield's book and everything, and one cashier said to the other, it said, "Do we know any more books George Steinbrenner doesn't like?" So that was the best comic of the year.
Dave Winfield, thanks for being with us, and good luck the rest of '88.
Thanks a lot.
Then there is Mark Langston. He's the Seattle pitcher who quietly has led the American League in strikeouts 3 of the last 4 seasons. I say quietly because the Mariners aren't exactly a great team. To get away from the pressures of the game, pitcher Langston changes his tune.
I seem to break a lot of strings on the guitar after a tough ball game. I come down here and, you know, there's some dents in the walls. Usually after the game, I don't even come close to this room. It's too much valuable equipment down here, I think. When I'm in here, it's complete relaxation, and I can do whatever I want, and if I mess up, it's no big deal. If I mess up out on the field, it's everybody knows it.
Not one to shy away from the spotlight, Mark imagines the music and plays to a different kind of audience.
I put on a batting glove like Michael Jackson. I went out there and embarrassed myself in front of 20,000 people. If I ever did anything, it would be fun. It would probably be playing in front of maybe 40,000 people, or, you know, just a big auditorium, and maybe a high school dance even, huh? Playing there and just, you know, having people enjoy what you do. You don't really get that kind of a feeling playing baseball.
Good night! During holidays like the 4th of July coming up, we all eat too much junk. Hot dogs, hamburgers, they all mean one thing. We'll all be at the gym the next day. The gyms are packed. We seem to feel pretty guilty after putting it away and spend the next few days doing physical penance. Everyone knows about aerobics, weights, and running, but the next wave is cross-training. More and more of us seem to realize the significance of varying our physical activity. For some advice from the experts on how to get the most out of your workout time, you can call our free USA Today Summer Meltdown Fitness Hotline. It should help you get through those punishing days after the 4th. That's it for tonight. Join Edie, Kenneth, Robin, and I tomorrow night on USA Today, the television show.
Have you any private cars on this train? Room and bath with exclusive bar?
I'm Edie Magnus. In the USA section tonight, astronaut Pinkie Nelson tells us what it's like to walk in space.
We've got a good picture of Pinkie flying in the bay.
I'm Kenneth Walker. In Money tonight, USA luxury cars race back to respectability.
I'm Bill McAtee. In sports tonight, life for Super Bowl hero Doug Williams 6 months after the game of his life.
I'm going to Disney World! I'm going to Disneyland!
I'm Robin Young. In the Life section, a major sporting event that takes nerves of steel. We'll go to a marble competition. All of that and more tonight on USA Today.
Now, from the USA Today Communications Center in Arlington, Virginia, here is Bill McAtee.
The longest-standing relationship in sports broadcasting appears now to be over. NBC, which has broadcast the Rose Bowl since the days of radio, apparently has lost the granddaddy of them all to ABC. The Rose Bowl has quietly agreed to a 5-year deal with ABC Sports for an average of $11.4 million a year. According to USA Today TV sports columnist Rudy Martzke, the man behind the move, the president of ABC Sports, Dennis Swanson. He is a big proponent of college sports. Well, the record books won't let us forget Doug Williams' amazing performance in Super Bowl 22, but what you might not remember is that the second quarter started with a frightening moment. Doug Williams went down, and he went down hard. And as amazing as all the records he set is that Doug Williams even got off the turf to play in the first place. That potentially dangerous play started a dream for Doug Williams. You saw what happened until the final gun in San Diego, and our USA Today cameras picked it up from there. This was more than a dream come true for one man. It was a dream come true for Zachary, Louisiana.
Say, I'm a supporter of Doug. I'm a supporter of Doug.
This is my hometown, and I can remember so many days I traveled that same highway, and here I am riding down the street, the same street, where there's 40,000 people to see Doug Williams.
It wasn't long after the Super Bowl that Doug Williams had his first endorsement.
I'm going to Disney World! I'm going to Disneyland! Hey, Mickey, you got your thumbs up? Ah, the Grand Canyon, Ashley. Look at the Grand Canyon. Oh!
But the most fun he had this summer was creating his own foundation for underprivileged children.
This is like a big part of my life. I mean, if we can pull this off and do the things that I want to do, then I would consider myself a success.
And Doug Williams joins us now from our USA Today newsroom. How you doing, Doug?
Fine, Bill. How are you?
Good, thanks. Hey, has the off-season been everything you thought it was going to be?
Well, it certainly has been hectic as far as traveling and not being able to be home.
It seems to me that the Super Bowl ended just yesterday. I can't believe we're about to start. You're going to training camp in another 3 weeks. Has the time gone by fast for you?
The time has really went by fast. I think for me, one thing, I never had a chance to just relax and just enjoy the Super Bowl. That's why it's gone by for me. But I probably get more rest during training camp than I've gotten in the last few months.
One of the things that we thought was going to happen to you was going to be a lot of endorsements coming your way. That really hasn't happened. Are you a little disappointed?
Well, not so much disappointed because, you know, I've always dealt with it as if it comes, that's good. If it don't, I still got to roll with the punches.
You were one of the lowest paid starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and I don't say that in a malicious sense, but one of the things that was expected was a new contract. That hasn't happened yet.
Well, I've been playing for 10 years now, so I've always been along that line. As far as the new contract is concerned, we hadn't talked about it, and maybe they changed their mind. Who knows?
You have never been in this kind of position before. After the Super Bowl, you were a hero. Everybody knew about you. Have you handled it well?
Well, I think that's a matter of opinion. I don't think it'll be fair for me to say that. I think I'm still Doug Williams.
Does your wife, Lisa, say that you've changed?
I don't think so.
Because, you know, the wives will keep you honest.
Well, they always do that, so we just have to roll with the punches.
Listen, thank you for being with us today, and we'll see you on opening day in the Meadowlands against the Giants.
Don't mention it.
Good luck.
Thank you, Bill.
We're nearing the 4th of July, and already there have been 5 Major League Baseball managers fired. Joining us now, the man behind the odds, USA Today odds maker Danny Sheridan. Danny, welcome. Any idea who might be next?
Well, at even money, I have Jimmy Williams of Toronto. They're in 6th place, one more mini losing streak, and I expect him to be gone probably within the next month.
Yeah, they've been writing about that in Toronto almost since opening day. Who else has a shot at being fired?
After that would be Jimmy Snyder of Seattle, a horrible baseball club. He's just an interim manager, and he will not be back next year. Then you would have possibly a surprising choice, John McNamara of Boston. He received the dreaded vote of confidence from the GM last weekend, and not a word from the owners about that vote of confidence, so I would say he would be next. After him, surprisingly, you would have Pete Rose at 2.5 to 1. He's been a bridesmaid 3 years in a row. I don't expect them to finish any higher than 4th, so I think Rose is in trouble and will not be renewed. His contract won't be renewed next year.
But you know, Danny, Pete is awfully popular in Cincinnati. When you do the odds, do you take into account the fan support that he has? I mean, they're not going to like that.
No, they won't, but the owners always make the decisions, and that's probably what's kept him around this long, the fact that he is that popular.
Let's have a little fun with something. What do you think the odds are that Billy Martin will be back to manage and then be fired from the Yankees by 1990?
Okay, well, that's an easy one. Martin swears that he won't be back for a sixth time. He's a 2-to-1 favorite to be hired for a sixth time and fired by 1990.
The next time Danny Sheridan's with us, I guess I'll ask him what the odds are of a 65-year-old woman completing a 100-mile run. This is the start of the Western States 100-mile endurance race. This is Helen Klein, a tenacious great-grandmother who began running at the age of 55, competing in over 36 marathons before moving up to longer races. Contestants here are given 30 hours to complete this grueling mountainous course from Squaw Valley to Auburn, California. Her attempt fell short at the 85-mile mark, much to the heartbreak of her running partner and husband, Norman.
Don't you dare cry. I feel fine. I just didn't have enough time to finish.
It was 5:01 and a knock on the door brought me out of my afternoon snooze. First thing I noticed was a great pair of gams that began with some red leather shoes. Her shrink-to-fit jeans fit like none that I'd seen, and I knew I could never refuse anything that she asked, because the lady had class. She wasn't no regular flues. So I said, come on in, it's time we begin. You and I should be looking for clues. So that was the day that I picked up the case of the babe with the case of the blues. The case of that babe with the button-fly shrink-to-fit Levi's 501 blues.
This is the Fifth Avenue bus station in Brooklyn, New York. Now it has the name of Brooklyn's most famous bus driver, Jackie Gleason. Honeymooners Ralph and Alice Cramden, of course, hailed from Brooklyn. The shuttle Discovery rolls out of the hangar this weekend on its way to the launch pad. Liftoff is now set for September 4th. We've heard a lot about the new safety features, but we wanted to know what's in the hearts of the astronauts who will be on board. Our correspondent, Marianne Grabavoy, found out in a talk with George Pinkie Nelson at the Johnson Space Center in Houston.
Pinkie Nelson is a veteran of 2 shuttle missions. In fact, he was a crew member on the last successful flight. It landed just 10 days before the Challenger explosion. Only 4 astronauts have walked in space without a lifeline. Pinkie's one of them.
Looking good, Pinkie. Okay.
It's exhilarating. The Earth is going on underneath, and there's satellites out spinning in front of you. And wow, I can't believe I'm really doing this. And
Is it that sense of exhilaration that draws you back to say, I want to do it again?
oh, that's part of it. Sure, I enjoy flying in space, I think, as much as anyone who ever has. Well, this is the best job in the world.
Your teenage daughters did ask you to give up the space program, didn't they?
Yes, right after the Challenger accident, they said they didn't want me to fly again.
As a husband and a father, doesn't that tug at your heart and your conscience and make you stop and think?
It certainly does. I mean, it's not easy, and we've done a lot of talking in the meantime, a lot of back and forth about, well, you know, this is what I want to do, and this is how safe it is, and these are the risks.
We've got a good picture of Pinkie flying in the bay.
Having watched their father and husband fly in space, untethered, it's got to be an incredibly frightening experience.
So they went deep-sea fishing that day. My kids
You're serious?
did. I'm serious, yeah. You know, what I'm doing is fun and exciting, and they get, I think, some pleasure out of watching it, but I try and teach them that they've got their own lives to lead.
At a certain point, technology and research and science are left behind, and it becomes a leap of faith, doesn't it? Man sitting on top of a rocket.
Well, it's a human endeavor. The space shuttle is not magic. It's a machine that was designed and fabricated by people's hands, and so you're sitting on you know, mankind's endeavor. It's an honor for me to be sitting there writing it.
Our cover story tonight is about measuring the price of a good education against the price of a bad one. One city discovered its failure to teach its children was costing more than dollars and cents. And Rochester, New York came up with a plan other cities are starting to copy. Here's how it happened.
In this community, we've decided nobody's, quote, wastable. All kids can, all kids must learn. That is a tremendous change in public policy.
It's been a general consensus that hasn't been working for years. Parents have felt that children haven't been progressing. The test results have showed that children are not making the progress that they should be making.
In Rochester, we've got 80% of our entering kindergartners who are already tested as a year or more behind in readiness skills. I mean, these children at risk get to be that way before they're 5 years old. We're behind the 8 ball before we even get a crack at it.
If you are poor, particularly poor, black or Hispanic, but poor, this system does not know how to deal with you, was never set up to deal with you, and doesn't really want to deal with you.
We all knew something had to be done. We are sending children out into the world unprepared.
So radical problems require radical solutions.
The radical solution is a 3-year deal between the Rochester school system and its teachers union. The first contract of its kind in the nation gives teachers more power and responsibility over how to teach the children. And it gives them much more money. Starting teacher salaries shoot up. So do average teacher salaries. And a teacher with 10 years' experience can qualify for a special lead teacher status and earn money unheard of in the profession. One thing they must agree to do is to teach the toughest kids.
That's the way it should be. Prior to this, it used to be because you were the most senior, you got the best job, and the newest teacher always got stuck with the most difficult classes. And that was not serving the children the best. It was serving the teachers the best.
We want those lead teachers to think of themselves as the Clint Eastwoods of teaching. Their attitude should be, go ahead, give me any class, any students, because if I can't do it, it can't be done.
The deal also calls for teachers to get more involved in their students' lives, beyond just teaching them a subject. Another program called Home Base Guidance pairs one teacher with a group of students for as many as 4 years. It gives the youngsters someone to talk to about school or anything else.
We can't replace the family, but we can supplement it, and we are with the kids every day, so why not be there in some meaningful way, not just as instructors, but as people.
This is something new. We're treading new ground, and we don't know exactly the mechanics of how it's going to work, but I think that there's a general consensus that it will.
Every single human being wants to succeed, and we are going to take ownership of that. That's what Rochester's all about. Every child can learn, every child can succeed. We believe it, and we'll achieve it.
I think that in 5 years you'll begin to see some evidence of change. In 10 years you'll begin to see improved results. And the kids who are now in kindergarten, who will be graduating in the year 2001, will be much better prepared to think for a living.
What's this for?
Dinner.
We're eating napkins?
We're eating crispy chicken.
I could eat a horse.
This was easier.
Ah, it's crispy chicken. From Shake and Bake.
Please use your napkins. It's juicy. You're lucky the law says I have to feed you until you're 18.
It is juicy. I could use another leg.
Shake and bake coating mixture.
I think you better look for another brain.
Chicken that's crispy outside, juicy inside.
When a city like Beverly Hills has a birthday, a card just will not do. After all, this is the capital of conspicuous consumption, so for its 75th birthday, it's treating itself, courtesy of Harry Winston Jewelers, to a very rich dessert. A birthday cake made of 2,600 diamonds glued to a lucite frame. Now, the $20 million cake is touring the country so that all of us can experience a slice of Beverly Hills life. Well, fashion slaves, beware. A new look that was created on the back of a cocktail napkin threatens to become the smile button of the 90s, and it's headed your way. It, or he, is called Fido Dido.
Sounds like something good to eat, too. Something like really exotic, you know, kind of kinky.
Is it a dog food or a dog?
What do you mean by that?
Fido, Dido? Who is he?
Fido Dido is an attitude. Fido is youth. Fido has no age. What started as a doodle became a way of life. Fido comes from the past, and Fido is the future.
At the movies, call it a coincidence, call it a concept whose time has come, or call it out-and-out stealing. Whatever you call it, twins are big business. You probably know Bette Midler and Lily Tomlin started the trend as two sets of mismatched sisters. And now, thanks to Hollywood's technical wizards, Jeremy Irons will soon be seen as one set of troubled identical twins. And right now, two actors equal in star stature, if nothing else, are Hollywood's latest bookends, Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Twins?
Twins.
Twins.
That's the name of our picture, yeah.
I mean, when you decided to play twins, what is it that you decided to work on? I mean, how did you go about these parts? Is there something that is supposed to be alike in the two of you?
Well, you know, it's a story, Rob. You know what I mean? It's like a story about two guys. And
But I have to ask you, I hear that you actually have discovered you have some things in common, that you've been singing together. Is this something we should know about?
For me, I mean, Danny is a talented singer, but I mean, I'm not.
Come on, now he's being very modest.
No, but the only time that anyone ever asks me to sing anywhere is if we are at a party somewhere and people want to get, the hosts want to get rid of the people, you know, around 12, 1 o'clock at night. So then they say, Arnold, could you sing a song? And then I sing a song and then they all split. So it's that kind of a singing. So I've been thrown into all kinds of strange situations in this film that are all new for me. I had to dance in this film, and Danny...
He's very, very light on his feet.
Yeah, Danny is teaching me
He's
how to
not very
waltz.
light on my feet.
And I had to sing in this film, and I mean, there are endless amount of things that I've never done before, and I think that it's been a great challenge, this film, a great challenge doing the first time a comedy for me, and to do so many different things that I've never done in real life or as far as that goes in a movie.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's a lot more... there's a lot of action and
you should
there's
tell
some
Rob
violence.
how you trained physically for this part.
Yeah, well, I've been working out every day. Ask me which way the beach is.
Danny, which way is the beach?
Over there. It's that way.
Oh, that way?
Yeah.
I thought it is over there.
Oh, it's over there.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I'm on Saturday Night Live? One last question to you, Danny. I hear that you do have action of a different kind. Is it true you play the romantic lead?
Yes. Yeah, I'm the romantic lead in the picture.
Well, we both
are romantic lead. We both have women in the movie, and we both have
major action.
Hey guys, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, now a sporting competition that takes guts, determination, a steady hand, and an unblinking eye. The place, Wildwood, New Jersey. The event, the 65th National Marble Championship. The effect, a sweet memory, even as it's happening.
Harvey Powell, how old are you, biggin? 10?
This morning's play,
You must be 14.
champions of escorts, this morning's play
I'll play Carl first. Think you'll make it to the semifinals? Think you will?
Still shooting. And still shooting.
The possession of many marbles was like your wealth. And you went to school, and you always get being scolded by the teacher because your pockets were bulging with marbles. And boy, if that guy didn't put down his knuckles, he was in trouble. You'd almost step on his hands. If you went to school with patches on your knees and dirty knuckles, you were popular because you were a good marble player.
And they miss. That's game. Unger wins 6-5 in extra innings.
It was crazy, but it was beautiful.
I'm
far from home, far from everything you know, but you're not alone. A new service from American Express is with you every step of the way. Announcing Global Assist. Now you can get medical and legal help in the U.S. and the world with one call, toll-free, 24 hours a day.
Hello, American Express.
Just one more reason to have the American Express card, or to get one.
Starting tomorrow, the Russians may be saying, the Canadians are coming. The Canadians are coming. Canada's Molson Brewery is the first North American beer to go on sale in the Soviet Union. 8,000 cases shipped. Considering how fast the changes fly in the computer business, it was probably just a matter of time, but starting tomorrow, IBM for the first time ever will take trade-ins. They'll take any old IBM PC in exchange for discounts of up to $1,000 on their latest line of personal computers. Born in the USA, no, not Bruce Springsteen, the love affair with cars. We spent a record $27 billion buying wheels last year. The big four states, ones with the most sales, California, Florida, Texas, and New Jersey. In the days of gasoline shortages and competition from overseas, USA-made big cars were run off the road. But as Ann Abernathy reports, big in 1988 is beautiful.
Cadillac versus Lincoln. The nation's love affair with luxury cars is getting hot again as buyers are flocking to those big old lovable gas guzzlers made in the USA. And the race is on. Lincoln's hot new Continental loses the acceleration race with the Cadillac Fleetwood, but the Ford car is pulling away with the most new sales over a year ago, and the factory can't keep up with the orders.
Ford has the more appropriate product for that audience at this point in the game, and General Motors is probably 2.5 years behind.
Even with those soaring sales, Continental tripled over last year, Cadillac still outsells Lincoln, and both lead Mercedes and BMW.
They're watching us closely, we're watching them closely as we do the foreign competition, and the bottom line is that the customer will benefit.
We've seen a lot of Americans come back and say, hey, that's what we want. Thank heaven there's a car that we can now buy that's American. And we like that very much.
Big car sales mean bigger profits per sale.
Many of the newer products put out by both Cadillac and Lincoln, the quality levels are equal to just about, if not every other vehicle in the world. In terms of price, they're clearly underpricing the rest of the market.
In addition to better quality, folks like the big cars for all kinds of reasons.
Carolyn is just about 6 foot tall, and in most cars, when she wears her hair up, it brushes the ceiling, but not in the Lincoln.
Today's Continental starts at $26,000, the Fleetwood $28,000, both about half the price of a deluxe Mercedes. With more than competitive prices, USA car makers hope they can reclaim not only market share, but their prestige as the unchallenged champion in the luxury car ring. Luxury cars are selling twice as fast as all the other new cars, Kenneth, and I understand that European imports have peaked.
Now that half of 1988 is over, we thought it'd be a good time to take stock of Wall Street. Here's a list of the best and worst stocks of the year so far. But what next? To find out, we've linked up with USA Today columnist Dan Dorfman from our New York bureau. Welcome aboard, Dan.
Kenneth, nice to be here.
Dan, what can you tell us about the crazy year we've had so far? It followed the crash in October. What kind of year has it been on Wall Street so far?
It's been, as you see, a crazy, wacky year. It's been a disaster, mostly because, in my mind, Congress and the president have sat on the duff. You know, stock prices go up and down. We've had a crash, and no one in Washington has done anything to stop these massive buy and sell programs. In other words, they should be outlawed. And until they do, you've got 47 million people out there who play the stock market, many of whom have been butchered, who are not going to go back in again until Washington does something. And by doing something, Ken, I mean stop those damn programs, outlaw them.
Well, for those people who are pretty fearless and are going to invest anyway, Dan, what can you tell us about the next half of the year? What is the environment going to be like?
The next 3 months, as I see it, should be good months. And therefore, stock prices, I feel, should be going higher. But after that, Kenneth, you've got an election coming up. Who's going to be the next president? Who's going to win? What is he going to do? Will Congress go along? Nobody knows. So therefore, in the second 3-month period, people are going to get worried, they're going to get scared, and they're going to sell. So if you want to play the market, you play it for the next 3 months, and then you begin to sell into the last 3 months.
Well, let's play for the next 3 months then, Dan. What 2 stock groups do you like the best?
You've got to go where the corporate profits are, and that means you have to look at 2 areas. Number one, you have to look at industrial corporations, Smokestack America, and let's look at some of the best industrial bets. And we've got Alcoa, Stone Container, Ford Motor, Phelps Dodge, Burlington Northern. Also, Kenneth, you have to look at earnings, meaning fast-growing earnings, and that means you've got to look at companies that are going to do well. And there's such stocks as PCS, Marino Associates, McGrath Rent Corp, Ryan's Family Steakhouses, Sigma Designs. Remember what we're talking about, Kenneth. We're talking about for the next 3 months. Investors should be investing. They should put their money in decent mutual funds, find out which have been the best performers the last 1 year, the last 3 years, the last 5 years, funds that have done well, and that's where their money should go.
That's it for us tonight. Join Edie, Robin, Bill, and me tomorrow night on USA Today, the television show.